is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
The people want the NBA playoffs, and the playoffs are officially underway. Today, we'll be giving you all the matchups, but we start with the playing game on Saturday, where it was Dame Lillard, it was CJ McCollum, and even a little Carmelo Anthony towards the end of the game that got the Blazers past the Grizzlies and the opportunity for them to face off against the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1-8 matchup. Jalen, looking forward to that next series. What are you keying on?
Shout out to John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies for basically playing so terrific all season and even being shorthanded without Jaren Jackson Jr. playing a terrific playing game versus the Blazers. We're going to talk a lot about the Mama's Boys backcourt of Lillard and CJ McCollum, and rightfully so. They're great shot makers. But Nurkic, the anchor down low, is a huge key to what they do. He has terrific ball skills, can do a lot of dribble handoff actions, pick and rolls, pick and pops, a great rebounder. And so his influence has been key to their ascension. He's played well. They've played well. It's going to be a terrific series versus the Lakers.
I mean, terrific series, Jalen, because I think that the Blazers are kind of like now overhyped, and like we're talking about Dame and the Blazers and how they match up against the Lakers, but I don't think it's as close as other people do. I mean, the season series, obviously there are different teams. This is the Blazer team that didn't have Nurkic and for some time Collins, but I think the Lakers are going to make pretty quick work of this one. I just don't think there's anyone in a Trailblazers uniform that can stop LeBron and AD, and I think that no one can, but I don't even think the Blazers will do much to do that whatsoever. And we will see. We'll see about that one.
Well, the thing that's going to be terrific is when you have some of the best players in the league on the floor at one time, LeBron, AD, and Dame Lillard. It's going to be great theater, but I do agree with you. A lot of people feel like the Blazers have a chance to win a series. I am not one of those people. I'd be surprised if it takes Lakers 6 games to advance.
Wouldn't you love just to see Dame win game 1 and then just scream at everybody in the bubble after the game was over? Remember, he just put some respect on my bleeping name. Like, I would just love for him to win game 1 and score 65
like
points.
Like 2001 Iverson.
Yeah.
I'll set the stage for you. I'll set the stage for you. Dame Dollar could be 2001 Iverson.
I would love that. But here's the reason why I now am 1,000% confident that the Lakers are going to smoothly sail to a championship. They made an announcement they're wearing the Black Mamba jerseys. If they get past the first round, they're wearing the Black Mamba jerseys. Now listen, I understand this is a tough road. The Blazers, potentially Rockets, and then the Clippers, and then the Bucks. But if you're wearing the Black Mamba jerseys, Jalen, you can't lose now. There's no chance they lose now.
Big shout to Nike doing what they can to represent the honor of the legacy of the late great Kobe Bryant, and it's going to be Mamba Week. We're going to participate. 8/24 is going to happen. We're going to do some fun things on this show to make sure that we pay homage to the legend as well.
Jalen, also in a game in the Eastern Conference, it is the 2-7 matchup. That one is later this afternoon, and that is going to be the Raptors against the Nets. And I have a theory about the Nets' approach to this one, because the most important people in Nets organization, they're sitting on the couch at home watching this one. You got Sean Marks, you got Katie and Kyrie, and everybody in the bubble is just auditioning for them because their roster is going to look different next year. So that's how I feel this plays out. They're going to lose this series for sure, but every possession they're going to be just auditioning for Katie and Kyrie and Sean Marks so they can stay in Nets jersey next year. What do you think of the theory?
I like what you did there, and you're right. I mean, when you're trying to put together a roster, it's going to be nurtured around the strengths and weaknesses of your best player, and that is Kyrie and KD. But however, there's been a constant, and I've talked about it on this program. Somebody that played well before they arrived and played well this year without them, and that's Karis LeVert. As I mentioned, the season D'Angelo Russell had, which was phenomenal, that allowed him to make the All-Star team, that year Karis LeVert was going to do that too, except he got injured. And so now people see him playing in the bubble like, oh, this guy can ball. Well, if you're talking about auditioning Jacoby, he should be a part of what they're doing going forward because he's a terrific and talented player.
Or his trade value is as high as it's ever been, so they should probably move him in the offseason for pieces that fit better with Kyrie and Katie. Just saying. I'm just saying. Karis LeVert needs the ball, and Katie and Kyrie do too. Moving on, Jalen. to the Sixers-Celtics matchup. Now, this one is interesting. Obviously, the glaring difference between these rosters is the fact that Ben Simmons is not going to be on the Sixers. What does this mean for Joel Embiid?
Domination. That's what it should mean. The Celtics have Tice up front. They have Cantor up front. Get ready for this. Marcus Smart will be guarding Joel Embiid at times. Just like we see with P.J. Tucker for Houston. That's going to happen. I expect 40. If I'm the coach, I'm writing that on the board for Joel. That's what he should be getting against the Celtics in their front line. And 15 boards. But it probably won't be enough because they have 4 guys that's going to get you 20. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. What's going to happen with Gordon Hayward? Play well. Kemba Walker. And so the Celtics have a great opportunity to advance playing against the Sixers, who will be without Ben Simmons and Brett Brown standing on the sideline, in essence, coaching for his job.
Joel Embiid obviously scores a little more with and without Ben Simmons. You see him with Ben Simmons, he scores a little more. But I really think that 40 number needs to be like the floor for his performances. They really don't have anyone that they can throw at Joel Embiid that can stop him. But if he's outside on the perimeter, kind of doing jab steps and running pick and rolls and doing all that stuff, they should use him like Hakeem Olajuwon or Patrick Ewing and just run him through the post. I know that Rick Carlisle said that the post play is the worst play in possession in basketball. I don't care. I want to see Joel Embiid get tons and tons of touches and just see if he can score 50 points and will him to a couple wins in this series. It'll be a good one. I can't wait for that one. And there's also some other implications with the Sixers. How far does Brett Brown need to go in these playoffs for him to be on the sideline for this team next season?
So here's what I believe, Jacoby. He returns next year. Let me say that again. I believe he returns next year. The expectations get lowered when Ben Simmons doesn't play. So therefore, if they lose, it won't be such a shocker. And if you look deeper into their roster, other than the Golden State Warriors, the Sixers are the only squad that have 4 players with $100 million contracts. And each of those guys will be on the roster next year. And I'm including Tobias Harris and Al Horford. Since you can't trade your core 4, I don't think they're going to change their coach, because changing your coach means you got to pay somebody. And paying those 4 guys, I don't see them this offseason going to pay a coach $40, $50 million, even if they're unhappy with Brett Brown.
I mean, they are locked into big contracts for years to come, and that's going to really alter their ability to make real roster moves because no one wants to take on those contracts in particular. But I don't know. This Celtics matchup isn't great for them, especially without Simmons. And if they lose in 5 games or 6 games, I do not think Brett Brown comes back. I really don't think he comes back. If they get bounced in the first round, I don't think he comes back. You act like you're surprised. Are you really surprised by that? If they lose in 5 games to the Celtics, you think Brett Brown comes back?
I don't see them writing a big check for a coach this offseason when they're paying 4 players at least $100 million. That's my logic.
I think that Celtics-Sixers matchup is going to be one of the more competitive series. And the one series that I really want to be more competitive than I think it's going to be is the Mavericks-Clippers. It's just so much fun to watch Luka and KP, but the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Lou Will, and now Harrell back in the bubble about to go on the floor. This is a real bad matchup for Luka. What do you expect from him in this series?
I expect Luka to be guarded 94 feet by Patrick Beverley. And then he's going to have switches with whoever's screening with Kawhi Leonard and then Paul George. And they're going to suffocate him to the point where he's not going to be as efficient as we're used to watching him be. But he's so very good, he's going to have his times where he gets used to how they're playing him and has his explosive moments where he scores and puts up big numbers. But Kristaps Porzingis has to be a difference maker at 7'3", Jacoby.
Yep.
He can't allow Montrezl Harrell whenever he comes back to guard him, or Zubac to guard him at the 3 line. He's so skilled, and one of the 4 players in the NBA that have the kind of talent and versatility to get you 20 points a game while getting you 2+ blocks. So this is a great opportunity for him to play well on the big stage in the playoffs.
I mean, Kristaps can post-up players. He can hit open threes. He's a great role guy. He plays defense. He blocks shots. He gets rebounds. Like, there's an opportunity for him, especially with Harold, probably on limited minutes early on in the series, for him to really break out, maybe have a 30-point game and sneak a couple wins against the Clippers. But, I mean, you're favoring the Clippers in this, aren't you?
Absolutely. Clippers, if they're focused, because the Mavs struggle more than any other team in the league the last 2 minutes. Because the first 46 minutes, they just playing like they're not keeping
score. The numbers
score.
are crazy.
And then all of a sudden the game slows down, and they've struggled in that period. So based on that, the Clippers in 5.
So you know I had the Lakers winning the championship because they'll be wearing the Black Mamba jerseys. There's another secret to the Clippers' success this postseason, and it's video. So, Jalen, you and I need to go to the table and break it down. Jalen, this is video of the stick man, Hell's Kitchen Zone, Joakim Noah, in the hotel hallway. Like, look at that, surrounded by smoke, but wait, it's sage. He's saging the hotel hallway to bless the Clippers as they enter the playoffs. Jalen, what do you think he's really doing? Let's be honest.
I like what Joakim Noah is doing there. He's one of our guys because he's a true roster, and you know it. Just Google
really
Joakim Noah as a New York Knick or Chicago Bull or when he wasn't in the league. He's been consistent. And here's what I would say. This is a great veteran move because he's protecting his teammates, Jacoby, because he walked in the hall and he smelled medicinal. And so what he did, I'm going to mask it. And I'm going to just walk down the hall and have sage everywhere. So now I'm going to put it on Instagram. Which room it came from. That is brilliant, Joe. I hope you get you a ring this year. That's great veteran leadership.
That is great. You got to know your role when you're the 10th guy in the rotation. You know what I mean? Because who knows? The original stick could come from a more important player that they really need buckets from. So he broke out the masking agent, walked up and down the hall, and intentionally put it on Instagram just in case anybody launched an investigation as to what smells the 11th floor of the Venetian. And he's like, don't worry about it. I got this. Great move, Joakim Noah. Great move by you. Jalen, some interesting news about the Big Ten. Now, they canceled their football season, and superstar quarterback from Ohio State, Justin Fields, started a petition, and here's what he had to say on the radio on ESPN this morning.
I think if the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 all think that we can have a season safely, then I don't see any reason why the Big Ten couldn't do the same. I think if we can get everybody on the same track in the conference, I think that'll be a safe way to actually conduct the season. Would we be more safe on campus playing football or off campus? Just doing whatever. I think COVID, you can contract it anywhere, and I feel more safe at the facility around my teammates, knowing my teammates are going to get tested twice a week. And that's kind of the safest environment for it.
Jalen, can Justin Fields save the Big Ten season in the fall?
He's a talented, disciplined young man, but the answer to your question is no. And I remember being a college student, and as I look back at the pictures of myself with my bald head and my rock teeth and my bad skin, I remind myself that from 17 to 21, I was hazardous to my own health. And that's what I hear from a college player. Of course he's going to want to get out there and perform and play the game that he loves. But here's what I want to caution him on. All of those conferences have the same information. It's just a couple of those conferences aren't telling you what's actually the lingering effects of what could take place here as it relates to somebody catching it and really having an issue to where maybe they get really sick or somebody happens to die. Who's liable for that? That's really why they're not playing. It's not that they care more or less about the student athletes. Everybody wants to see football and everybody wants to make money. It's just the Big Ten and the Pac-10, the Pac-12 have decided that the risk and the reward versus health aren't worth it.
Jalen, regardless of whether or not the Big Ten plays in the fall, somehow Michigan's going to find a way to lose to Ohio State in late November. I don't know how. They might not even be on the field.
Family and to the Washington football team for this progressive move. It's embarrassing that he's the first African-American president in the history of the NFL The same for the NBA, who only has one black president, and that's Masai Ujiri, who happens to be the best on the defending championship Toronto Raptors. When you look down at the field and you look down at the court, black players are more than represented. It should represent itself also in powerful positions. Hopefully this creates a lead domino.
Jalen, I have some bad news for the Houston Rockets. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes.
Russell Westbrook will not be playing in Game 1 as they start the series against Chris Paul and the Thunder. Jalen, are the Rockets in trouble in this series?
I wouldn't be surprised with that quad injury if he missed the entire first round. Against his former squad, I know that's going to be tough for him to watch his team go out there and compete. Hopefully it becomes a long series and he can return.
You know I love Shai Alexander. You know I love Steven Adams. Can the Thunder beat the Rockets if they're without Russell Westbrook for the whole series?
No, I don't believe so. I want to pick them, but he does something really distinct once you trade Clint Capella. You open up the lane so he can drive, slash, and play like a guard, really playing forward in center minutes. And so he's been so very effective doing that. I don't think you replace that productivity.
Moving on. Alvin Gentry is out of a job. Keep moving or hit
the brakes.
The Pelicans parted ways with Alvin Gentry after 5 seasons. What do you think some coaching candidates that they should consider are, and what traits should they look in for their next coach?
So this is going to be musical chairs this offseason with the coaching carousel for head coaches and assistants. I would love to see Sam Cassell get his opportunity to be a head coach. Don't be surprised Alvin Gentry ends up as an assistant, associate head coach somewhere else really soon. Look at Tyronn Lue and Chauncey Billups as a tandem to join somebody's staff. I'm still going to trumpet for Mark Jackson to get an opportunity. Kenny Atkinson, a couple of first-time coaches. Ime Udoka, who's on the Sixers bench. And don't sleep on a wild card with the Pelicans. Jeff Van Gundy. Just going to throw that out there in the atmosphere.
Well, for those of us that watch the games on ESPN, that would be quite a loss. But I would love to see him head coach again. Jalen, I've got some really bad news about Detroit sports that we're going to have to discuss. You got to hit the brakes. So the Cleveland baseball team has beaten the Tigers in 20 straight games. So we did a little research just about the state of Detroit sports right now and just where in the major sports where Detroit is. Last in baseball, last in hockey, tied for 22nd in the NFL, and they should be worse. And the Pistons, well, we know where the Pistons are. Jalen, there is not a single team that represents your home city that is winning games and making the city proud. Detroit deserves better than these 4 teams. I feel like y'all should start over with all of your major sports franchises. You should just wipe the clean slate and start over as a city. Can we start a petition? Can we do something about this? What was the Jaguars record this year?
I got to deal with. I can't. I'm speechless right now.
There's nothing to say. The numbers speak for themselves. Put the full screen up again. Just put it up there again. How are y'all last in 50% of the sports you play? And you know the line. I mean, the Lions are last in the conference. The Pistons. Did you see who the Pistons were putting on the floor right before the season was suspended? I mean, they had nowhere to get a bucket from. God, on behalf of your city, I just want to say you deserve better. Detroit deserves better than this. This is making me sad. Go to break, Matt.
At least JRLA's having our golf out.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, as we sit here right now, the playoffs are underway, and I just couldn't be more excited about this. Just 12 hours every day of NBA action, and one of the favorites to walk away from the bubble with the championship trophy are the Milwaukee Bucks. Their star player and likely MVP of the league this season, Giannis Antetokounmpo, said he's frustrated by the 3-5 record in the seeding games. How do you expect the Bucks to perform now that it's playoff time?
There isn't more pressure on a franchise and a set of teammates than it going to be on the Milwaukee team, because Giannis winning back-to-back MVPs, he doesn't have a long-term contract just yet with the team. If they flame out in the second round like you predict to the Miami Heat, and he's already frustrated by how they're playing in the bubble, and the playoffs ain't even started yet, that's not a good sign. So that's why I'm hoping that they play well, make it to the finals, so he stays there long term and does the Patrick Mahomes thing. Because if they lose early like you predict, all summer, all season, we're going to be talking about what happens with Giannis next. Because if they win the championship, I think he signs and gets the big money. They get bounced, I think he says, well, let's kind of let next season play itself out. And financially, the best decision is to let next season play out. So it's important that they play well and perform well in this year's playoffs.
We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy the playoffs.